Good morning, everybody. Great to see the good energy this morning. I'm excited to have everyone. I will admit, my breakout moved, and I'm a little jealous of the breakout I'm against. I actually wanted to sit in on that one, so I really appreciate everybody in this room this morning and spending this time with me. This is Surprise and Delight, Enhancing CX Through Low Budget, Low Effort Initiatives. So just to get us started, I'm curious, show of hands, how many of you work in AEC? Okay, legal? 2, okay. Finance? 1. Accounting, thank you. Accounting, IS. Yeah, technology, good job, Benji. Okay, that's helpful for me. How many of you have a CX program currently? And how many of you are like kind of the champion leader of this? I don't know if you want to admit it. Okay, thank you. It's helpful for me. I do work in engineering field, so I try not to, but I might use a little bit of jargon every now and here. So if I say something, it's a question, please just like raise hand, interrupt me as we go, no problem, and we'll just keep going through that. So, surprise and delight. I will start off, my love language is not gifts. Surprisingly, despite this presentation, my love language is not gifts, but I am the first one to love a gift with purchase. I'm the first one to love like loyalty program. I am Marriott's rewards member, Delta all the way. I do all those things. So I think most of us love a little bit of swag, but we're gonna go beyond that and really talk about how this connects to the client experience. About 15 years ago, I happened to work, this is a little odd, I am from Bismarck, North Dakota. At the time I was working for what was a Fortune 500 company, still headquartered out of Bismarck, North Dakota. We have a huge utility, construction, oil and gas, aggregate company that's headquartered there. And I was working in our internal communications department. And we all have this holiday season. The office fills up with cookies, with meat and cheese trays, with flavored popcorn, with all the things. And we had a lot of vendors. It was this huge company, 15,000 employees, nationwide. So we got some pretty nice gifts come Christmas time that would sit around in the office. But I was working with an agency out of city who came to February. And this package shows up. And they had sent us a Valentine's Day gift, of all things. And they sent us this whole hot chocolate spread with marshmallows, custom cups, Valentine's Day cards that they had custom made. It's an ad agency. Come on, they're a bunch of creatives. They came up with great stuff. So it was all about how much we appreciate you as a client, how much we love you and care about you. Not love, that's a little far for business, but you get the point. It was really cool, and it left a big impression on me to think, wow, they really stood out. They stood out from what everyone else is doing. They found a creative way to rise above the noise and to do something that made an impression on me as a client and made me think, wow, they took a little extra time to think about me, to think about our firm, and to do something extra. And I guess I'd like all of you to think, we've all experienced this with gifts. Plenty of us in here maybe are mothers. We just had Mother's Day. Hopefully you got a good gift. But these things, they make an impression. If something thoughtful, it matters. Before we get too much further, I think it's important for you to know who I am. So my name is Amber Larson. I am Senior Marketing Manager. Actually, I have a hybrid boss who's an engineer, has held several roles. He actually this month is being promoted to CEO, so I'm now the Marketing Director. So that's changed just slightly. Thank you. Thank you. But so Bartlett & West is about a 350 people firm. We're headquartered like center of the US. So I know there's plenty of people here who are East Coast firms. I've met some Midwesterners, so thank you. As I mentioned, I live Bismarck, Mandan, North Dakota. Our office is actually spread from North Dakota all the way down to Texas. We have our headquarters in Topeka, Kansas. So really that central US, mainly civil engineers, a little bit of architects, a little bit of design build, but that's us. We're also 100% employee owned, have been for a pretty long time. So that's a bit about Bartlett and West. I hold a couple roles, admittedly. So my husband happens to be a tattoo artist. So I mentioned Bismarck Mandan spreads the river. So we are on the Mandan side, and we, several years ago, actually bought a Main Street 100-year-old building. So we own a business in downtown Mandan. He is there every day. I am everything else. I am the finance, I'm the HR, I'm the marketing, I'm the complaint department. I'm everything else for that business on the side. And because I decided that wasn't enough, 4 years ago I got nuts and decided to run for local office. And I had never been political, have never been around politics, but I own a Main Street business. I cared about what was happening in the community. So I decided to run for office with 5 candidates for 2 spots, 2 incumbents, both of the incumbents running. I won by 9 votes. Thank you. So I'm at actually the last month of my 4-year term. Holding public office during COVID was not so fun. So one of the greatest things I've ever done, not doing again right now, I am not seeking re-election, but I will do it again sometime. So sidebars. The point is, I had a lot of crazy roles. I guess it makes it somewhat interesting. So every now and then they run articles about me because it's kind of weird. It's a weird combination. So this is actually my daughter. She turns 14 on Monday. So this picture's a little old. What's funny about this is she wasn't excited for me. This article says her name. So that response is all in proportion to her name being in the magazine. But that's just a little bit about me, who you're listening to today. So I mentioned that experience with getting a gift, but what really made me frame the idea of gifting at all around client experience was CXps in 2019. I had the opportunity to sit through, very first breakout, first day, was the amazing Jen Newman, who was at Zweit at the time, and Blake from Client Savvy presenting on client experience and how to infuse peak moments into the client experience. And I'm going to paraphrase because it's been a little while, but basically what they said is clients don't remember the average of how you did. What they remember is hopefully the best, maybe the worst of what they had with you, and typically the beginning of or the end. So what they were saying is it's really important to look for opportunities to create those peak good moments in the client experience to counteract if something goes wrong, so that they remember you in a favorable light. These are my literal notes from that session in 2019. I still have them today. So hence your worksheet, because I'm a believer of worksheets after having this all these years later. You can't really read it, but what highlighted in blue is the word celebrate. We were going through the client journey, and in my notes I was writing celebrate milestones, celebrate anniversaries, celebrate awards, ribbon cuttings, do a 1-year anniversary celebration cake, celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Came through over and over in my notes from that session, thinking about how do you enhance client experience. And this theme of celebrate came again and again. Now we're all at CXps, so we should know this, but just to take a brief stop, and these I admit are stats that I had from 2019, so they're maybe slightly off, but we get the point of why client experience is so important. 88% of companies compete primarily on client experience. I know plenty of our materials will say we have excellent expertise, we're a trusted advisor, gosh, I don't know, the list just goes on. But the truth is how we make them feel matters so much in our industries when we think about why clients come back to us. Now, 80% of us believe we deliver superior experiences. I mean, most of us don't go out in the day thinking like, wow, how can I just like do a bad job here? How can I make this not feel well for the client? I mean, we are really trying every day to do a great job to make them show how much they matter to us or make them see how much they matter to us. But unfortunately, only 8% of our customers think that we have a superior experience. So there's room to do better, to make it better, to improve those experiences for our clients. So for me, that's where gifting came into our client experience. And because I like things that are concrete, we're gonna go through some, actually a little bit more than 3, but at least 3 examples of how we infused and measured client experience and gifting in that process. But first, I feel like it's important to talk about what gifting should not be. So when I was working through this presentation with Ryan, when we were discussing the idea of it, one of the first things he talked to me about was gifting to a nonprofit for a survey. Now, we have plenty of clients who can't take a gift. We have that in our company. You know, federal, state, local, we have private companies even who have gifting policies. It's important to watch those things and to pay attention to those things. We also, my company, Bartlett & West, are hugely passionate about giving back, which we'll go through a little bit later. So we donate to nonprofits pretty regularly on behalf of our clients and not just on behalf of our company. Now that's different than saying, give me your information as my way to like support childhood cancer research. Like, let's not do that, okay? If that's what you care about, do that. But don't do that in exchange for someone's information. So I call that guilt gifting. Let's not. Another example I have of how to be careful, like I said, I love a gift with purchase. I love a perks rewards program. A sales process is different, I would say, than the client experience. So, you know, I've had the offer to do a gift to schedule a sales call. I'm sure you've seen this, get a $25 Amazon gift card. I have a really nice necklace that I got from somebody. I will tell you, I have no idea who I was on that call with. I had no interest in their company, really. They didn't hook me through thought leadership or some value proposition. They hooked me through a gift. And they never got me. I got a necklace, they got nothing. You know, I mean, so I think there's places in sales where these things make sense. I think if you're trying to build a relationship, you need to be careful about what you're using to open the door. And then we have drop gifting. This is what I call just using a gift to try and open the door again without any kind of relationship. I'm not in a sales funnel with you. I'm not in a client journey. I am not a client, and just get something sent in the hope you get a call back. As I mentioned, I sometimes have random articles. I had an article recently that was written locally, and somebody reached out to me who owns a tanning salon and offered me free tanning service. I do not tan. My mom was a redhead. I am a pasty white North Dakota girl. And it was just like, I'm not in your client database. Why are you randomly reaching out to me this message? It was one of those things where, without context, it can come off as insulting. So I would say be careful how you use those kind of things. If you don't know the person, you don't want to just send them something because you can be sending the wrong message. So now that we've covered what not to do, let's go back to examples of what to do. As I mentioned, Bartlett & West, my company, our mission is to lead our communities to a better tomorrow. We believe very, very passionately about supporting communities, about volunteerism, about giving back. In fact, even though we're 100% ESOP and don't get any tax credits, we designate a part of our revenues every year for just charitable donations back to the communities. So I started at Bartlett and West about a decade ago in 2012. And I started in our Bismarck office, which at the time was about 150 people. And yet, no one in that community knew who we were. And we'd been there for decades, but nobody really knew who we were. So we started, as most people do, with the local chamber. And our chamber had a holiday mixer, which was, as usual, all about the booze, the food, and the door prizes. So we end up at the holiday mixer thinking, okay, people think, I don't know, we're architects or whatever, but they don't think we're engineers. They think we're a law firm. They think we're something else entirely because we're all named after, a bunch of founding people. So we thought about, okay, what do we really want to tell this community about who we are? And we care a lot about giving back. So we came up with this theme of give some more, because it's about the food, so we need food. So I got a bunch of our engineers to sit behind open flames and roast marshmallows for people, and we had a variety of chocolate there and graham crackers and all that things. But what we did was we decided to do a drawing, instead of for a TV or whatever it was, for a $500 donation to the nonprofit of their choice. And suddenly, this was huge. Like, it was insane. People were coming up to us, asking us who we are, what this company is, what is this about, and they started telling us the stories about the organizations they care about. And it made this connection that I never expected. And there was just this buzz around the booth. It was crazy. Like, we cared about it. They cared about the nonprofits we cared about. We were having conversations about all this. We're having conversations about what mattered to the company. It was incredible. Well, unfortunately, the next year, that venue banned open flames. So that was the end of the S'more Bar. But in 2017, we were lucky enough to finally stand up our CRM. And for the first time, I could send emails, to our clients. It was incredible. So first year, we just did the standard, holiday greeting, get into the holiday noise. Second year, I thought, gosh, let's try to do this better. So I remembered that experience from 2014, that live experience of giving away that donation and the connection it made. And I thought, wow, wonder if we can do something better with our holiday email. Oh, by the way, I have a QR code at the end. You're welcome to take pictures, but you can download all the slides. So I thought, let's do this virtually. Let's see how this works. So we just did our holiday greeting as usual, but we had in there the option to enter the nonprofit of your choice to be entered into the drawing for the $500 donation. Again, we were not asking for their information. They were already our contacts. They're already our clients. They're already in our HubSpot. So we're not asking them for something at all. We're just saying this matters to us. If it matters to you, opt in and just say which nonprofit you want, and we'll do a drawing. So at the time, we have way more than this now, but at the time we had a little over 1,700 contacts in our CRM. Now, click rates and open rates are great. I'm in marketing, but let's be serious. That's not what the goal is. It doesn't, they're, flashy metrics that don't mean a lot, but they were good. They were above industry average. What was interesting is we sent to 1,700 people, and we got almost 650 responses. Those numbers don't add up. That doesn't work. What happened was we were sending to our clients who are on boards of nonprofits, who were connected to the community, who cared about this as well, and kind of went viral. They forwarded on, and we were getting people that we hadn't expected, which we had a debate if we should let this go or not, but we did. But it went to people we didn't expect, and for lack of a better term, they stuffed the ballot box. So it made an impact. It made an impact more than I expected, but still connected to what we'd experienced before, where what we cared about connected with people, and they showed us. Now, the last number, I admit, I'm in marketing. These are fuzzy. This is from our CRM. So the people we connected this with also were connected to almost $2 million in closed opportunities. I won't say that this email created almost $2 million of work. That's insane. But I will say that the clients that we touched are connected to our revenue. Not the goal, but this is also nice. We submitted this in 2019 to the SMPS Kansas City chapter. It also won an award for excellence in the holiday category, holiday piece. So that was nice. It's nice to get that stuff. It's nice to get that recognition. But it was really an excellent campaign for us. We did end up giving 2 donations away that year because we had so many entries. We've continued it since. We've upped the amount that we give to those nonprofits, and we've upped the number of nonprofits we do, and it still is just wildly popular, going like crazy. So that's example number 1. That was 2019. Fast forward to 2020. As I mentioned, I and my husband own a tattoo studio. And 2020 wasn't too fun. We were one of the industries that was forced closed. This is actually a sign we normally put on our door that says closed, but still awesome. It was not so awesome. And when I think about our industry of professional services, it was not so awesome for us either. A huge part of my marketing budget goes to trade shows, goes to client events. That's a huge way we stay connected with our clients. And suddenly it was gone. And then we thought maybe it'd come back after a couple months, and it was still gone. And it was still gone. And that was really hard. We went through an initiative in 2020 to make our PMs, God forbid, actually pick up the phone and call clients. I know. So we were calling to make sure we were keeping that connection because we couldn't use the events that we normally used. Everybody was overloaded with emails. We were doing webinars. We were doing all the things. But it wasn't the same. We were struggling to keep that personal connection. And we started to see it. So, disclaimer, stop for disclaimer. My company, Bartlett & West, has been using client feedback for a long time. I inherited this. For some reason, someone, probably 10, 15 years ago, decided to be smart to measure client feedback on a scale of 1 to 6. Yeah, thank you. So this is my disclaimer. We started using Net Promoter Score about 2020, doing the true Net Promoter Score question. We'd done it also we'd also checked Net Promoter Score in 2019. But so don't be thrown off by the chart. It's a 1 to 6 scale. It makes no sense, but we benchmark against ourselves this way. What we've also seen is this can be a leading indicator sometimes of our revenue. 2016 was a super rough year for us. We had, like I mentioned, like 150 people in North Dakota. That was when Bakken oil prices started to drop. We all had to lay off a bunch of people. We had a huge amount of our company revenue coming out of North Dakota. It was a really big deal. At the same time, in a perfect storm, we were reorganizing our company. And our reorganization, admittedly, was very us-focused and not at all thinking about the client. And our client feedback numbers suffered because of it. So we got to 2020, and we're seeing the best scores we've ever seen. Everybody's in it together. We're all banded together. We're doing really well. And then we got to the first half of 2021, and even though that feedback was still really good, our numbers were starting to get almost back to 2016 levels. And for our company, we've seen this can be a leading indicator of revenue. So this was a huge concern to us. The feedback was great. They're saying everything's going good. We like you guys. It's going well. But that ranking was starting to tank. And it was like, we can't let this year go on like this. This is not going to be good. So right in July, we decided to do, let's try and leverage gifts. Let's see if we can counteract this, one of the ways that we've seen successful, and see if we can infuse some gifts to surprise and delight our clients. So this was July. We put together 2 options because we know not everybody can take gifts. So again, we used our marketing automation tool to do an email blast. We selected a list of our most important contacts connected to revenue, because that was the challenge. We were worried that these scores are going to affect our revenue. So we said, let's create a list of just those people, not everybody, we didn't do this as a blanket thing, but those people we care the most to impact. And we said that. We just said, we thank you, we appreciate you, we care about you. You can tell I wrote this because it says, we couldn't do this without you. Really? Literally? So we sent this off with the option. They could select a donation if they wanted to, if they can't take a gift or don't want to take a gift. Went to the local United Way in their area, or they could select this gift package, which had a custom tumbler that also is it's a mug that is also a koozie. We're really big in our company about custom branded socks. It's a thing. So we had our custom socks in there, some wireless headphones, some snacks, avoiding like every allergen under the sun, like no egg, no gluten, no whatever, everything. And we called this the morning walk package because people couldn't go to the gym still. And we offered this out to our clients. We actually sent it to 181 key clients. Again, great open rates, great click-through rates, not the goal. Our goal was we were seeing those client feedback scores go down. As I mentioned, we'd also started asking Net Promoter Score. Our Net Promoter Score average immediately went from an 8.33 to a 9.25 in the matter of just a quarter, in a couple months. Immediately saw those numbers change. By the end of the year, I will say I'm not measuring to 2020 because as you saw, that was an anomaly, really great year for us. But our Net Promoter Score for year end from 2019 to 2021 actually went up 10 points. So by mid-year, we took something that we saw was really tanking. And I'm not going to say the gifts just changed that, but that's exactly what the gift initiative was intended to do. And we were really happy to see that turn around. So just like many of the rest of you in this room, we're ending the year, we have historic backlogs, all this, all the same great challenges that everybody else is facing, instead of worrying that our clients are going away.
I'm just curious, did you do any analysis? Was most of that movement from people who were passives, the 7s and 8s, up to 9s and 10s?
Yes, great question. Yes, it was. It was people exactly that, going from passive to saying, I'm a promoter of you. So this is actual feedback from our client survey that we got about a month after we did this initiative. This is Lisa, one of our South Dakota water clients. We say, is there anything we could do better? She says, no, although we got the gift box. And we love the mugs. There weren't enough of them, though. We want more. This is the notes from her client feedback. Asked her the Net Promoter Score. How likely are you to recommend Bartlett and West to others? She says 10, but I'm waiting for those mugs. We also ranked the mugs a 10 out of 10. So, I think that's proof that what we were trying to do with gifts made an impact the way that we were trying to make an impact on those clients. Great question. I'll get right there in just a second. Actually, so with that, we'll go into some other gifting initiatives. Does anyone want to share an example of one you've done? Yes, excellent.
We had very similar, so in 2020, because our company's national and we have lots of client events at trade shows, and that all shut down, so I had this big BD budget that wasn't getting used, and we said, let's do a gifting. So we identified in different regions of the country, fudge from Massachusetts, shrimp and grits from South Carolina, and these were small businesses that we assumed were struggling also. Winery out in California, and we had for about 6 different items, even one for our Canadian clients. And similar to you, did the email blast. It's a client appreciation gift since we can't come to you or be with you at a conference. But and through HubSpot, they have to go in and put their information into our website, and now we have that tracking as well. But it was a very select group of clients. So very similar.
Thank you, Russ. And because this is a gifting presentation, I can't get away without not getting a gift giving a gift. So because Russ answered, this includes the mug that Lisa loved and the socks, So thank you.
How many of each would you say?
Thanks so much, Amber.
Gift box versus the donation?
Great question. It was, I would say, a little skewed, maybe 60 towards the donation, 40 towards the gift, which is great. And both were about $50 in value. So these weren't high cost. The hardest part was getting the list from our project managers of who we really wanted to target. With both of those initiatives, building the list is the hardest part. Yeah.
How many did you send to each office? How, is it like one per person at the, in the office?
Yes, we didn't do it by company, we did it by contact. So they got the email, they could go into the form, and they could select if they wanted it shipped to their home, if they wanted it shipped to their office.
So that one person got it.
It was person,
20 people in the office.
it was person to person, yeah, not company. So we have other gifts we'll do too. We do like a 3-pound chocolate bar at Christmas to companies, because, you know, hopefully no one's eating 3 pounds of chocolate.
181 or whatever, those were active clients.
Yes, they were all active clients that are like our clients that, you know, key contacts that are connected to projects and revenue.
Remember, there's a hand raised way over
Yes,
there.
thank you.
So do you always rely on a lead form for figuring out the address component and where's the best place to send it?
Yes, we definitely did that throughout the pandemic. We still have plenty of people who haven't gone back to their offices. So we found that was definitely a best practice for us to let them select the mailing address they wanted this to go to. So we didn't just assume ship to office.
One other thing you asked about ideas, you know, mugs are a big thing. Everybody, lots of companies do mugs. We've got, I don't know if y'all have ever seen the big mugs that like a lot of national parks offer. There's a company called Sunset Hill Stoneware in Wisconsin. These things cost about $20, maybe a little more now with inflation. But our clients send us pictures of them drinking coffee. I'm going to Germany next week in Spain, and I'll probably take 8 or 10 of these heavy mugs with me. They're made in the U.S., which with our customers we manufacture. We help manufacture, so they love that. You know, it's like just coming up with something that's a little unique. It's amazing to have clients send me pictures, texting me like, hey, I'm drinking out of my AV mug, you know, I'm out in Seattle, I love this, you know, it's just like, it establishes connection like nobody's business.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'd love to. I gotta get you a vendor for the mugs too. Mugs go like that. Sunset Hills. Okay. Yes, Jennifer.
Something we're trying this year is new, but we're gifting our top clients an experience. So Virgin Experiences is a great one. Airbnb now has experiences to gift. You have to be in some major markets to get a good selection, so we have to pick wisely. But for about $200, we're only doing it for top clients. They can take another person with them, so it's always for 2 people to do an experience of their choice. So we're trying that. I don't know.
Awesome. And that's not a bad price. I mean, when I say, like, these aren't high cost things that we've done. I mean, different people have different gifting initiative or gifting policies. We have plenty of private that can't take more than $100 of value. They can take whatever they want. If it's a dinner with us for some reason, it can be a, you know, $10,000 dinner. But I guess the point is, this is a lot less, as Russ was saying, a lot less than the budgets you already have in place for BD or client events. So this can be built into most budgets. And you mentioned also about getting pictures of people with your swag. As I mentioned, custom socks became really big for us. We actually work in the rail industry. We work with most of the Class 1 railroads for our company. And one of the huge conferences for rail is ARIMA. And we had started doing the custom socks for the rail industry for our rail clients at ARIMA. And we have a new design of socks every year. And they will collect them. And they will send us pictures of them in the socks. So we had these socks already ordered for 2020. And then COVID hit and kept hitting. And ARIMA didn't happen. So we used the same thing where we said, well, you can't miss the 2020 socks. This has got to be a collector's item, right? So we still sent the email that said, we're sorry we miss you. We still value you. We want to stay connected to you till we can see you again. Here's still your opportunity to get the socks. So we still sent that out. Yes, Jennifer? It's coming. Yes, great question. I do have a slide on vendors. So that's another example of what we've done. So we mentioned, Jennifer mentioned experiences. I will say some of these things that we've done virtually, they also work in person. We found a great vendor. We've done virtual bourbon tastings. I know for CXps, I had a wine tasting we did that was great. Found a really great vendor for beer and cheese tastings where they put everything together and all you have to give them is an Excel sheet of addresses and they have the facilitator, they take care of everything. We also moved that to an in-person thing, a hybrid, and that worked really well for us, even though the tasting person was virtual. I mentioned from that peak and pit performance, celebrating with clients. We've enacted this with our we call them key accounts. We have companies that are like, the 80-20 rule. We all have companies that are our most important. In our company, we have key account plans. We have literal plans around those companies that are our most important. And we meet monthly on them. I mean, it's this whole thing. And we plan gifting around those key accounts for promotions, for retirements, for milestones. We've done all those things. It's important, again, to know your client. So we had like someone who was really important to us in one of those accounts who was promoted. And I talked to our group on it and I was like, what should we do for her? We could do chocolates, should we do flowers? And I said, hey, she's been on this really big health journey. This is important to her. So we actually sent her one of the edible or fruit arrangements, which she loved. It was perfect. So know your client, know what they care about, and then it hits the mark. We've also done frame celebratory photos. This was also a little bit funny for me during the pandemic. We had been working with an industrial park in Colorado, and they weren't necessarily our client. We had a developer client, and then we had the industrial park. We had planned a ribbon cutting that ended up getting canceled where we'd done the framed, celebratory photos. Our client, developer client, had ended up going to that community, seeing the framed photo that they got from us on the wall. He admitted to us later he was pretty jealous of it, till he finally got back to his office after post-pandemic and realized there was also one sitting there waiting for him. So these things, they matter to people. They make a difference, celebrating. So these are just a variety of examples. There's so many you can do. Again, it's not a lot of effort. The hardest part to me is always developing the list. But I would say, don't forget your employees. We all know client experience, employee experience goes hand in hand. We started our employee experience initiative for our company in 2019 with focus groups, surveys. And one of the things we heard loud and clear was that the Bartlett and West employees, I think a lot of us in our professional services industry, employees somehow really love to wear our logo, love to wear the brand. And we kept gifting stuff to clients. And we weren't gifting any of it to employees. We were doing an employee apparel sale once a year, and employees were buying all the logoed stuff and wearing it all the time. And here we're giving hats to our clients, we're giving custom socks to our employees, our clients. We were giving all this away and we weren't doing any of it for our employees. So that was something we quickly changed, where we started giving them a voucher during that sale for $40, $50 to buy something with the logo on it instead of having to pay for it all, which I know seems insane that we needed a survey and focus groups to tell us that, but we needed a survey and focus groups to tell us that. We also finally went from our long-standing PM-only training event to our first virtual all-employee summit, and we shipped everybody the socks. So everybody has a pair of socks now. We give them in our onboarding packet. We make this part of something that happens for our employees too. So there's worksheets on every table. I've given you a lot of examples because I personally love presentations where I can leave with something. There's also worksheets. I'm going to give you just like a minute or two. This is not going to be a report out type of thing. It's just for yourself while this is fresh in your mind. Think about a problem you have to tackle. For plenty of us, it's recruitment or retention. I had the example where for us it was Net Promoter Score, but think about a challenge you might have in your employee experience, in your client experience, that gifting might help impact. And I'd really challenge you too, as you're thinking about KPIs, go beyond open rates and click-through rates and think about what is the company driving metrics that matters and how can you impact that. As I mentioned, I wanted to share some of the vendors that we actually use because I feel like this is helpful. The custom socks are from a vendor called Eversock. We love them. They're like $7, $8 a piece. They've worked really well for us, custom branded. We custom the package stripe that goes on them. The mugs that Lisa loved are from 4imprint. Everything's, I feel like, from 4imprint. The vendor we've used for bourbon tasting admittedly is a little bit more expensive, and we put the bourbon together ourselves. But they're a company out of DC called the Whiskey Library. They actually hire like improv actors and comedians that are also whiskey experts, so they do a pretty good job of it, even though it's a little bit higher fee. But out of Boston is a company that I've used for beer and cheese tasting called City Brew Tours. They've partnered up with another vendor, and all you have to give them is seriously is Excel list of addresses, and they take care of everything. I will say too, I learned this the hard way. You can't ship alcohol to every state. So it's important you know that and watch for that if you're gonna do anything with alcohol. So those are some of the vendors we've used. A lot of the ideas that I've gotten are from Sendoso. They are, and I know there's other gifting programs, they are too expensive for my organization, for my budget to be able to use, but when I've done things looking at that, I would love to use them. They plug into CRM. I'm not sponsored in any way by them because I can't afford them in my budget, but they do a really good job. I'm sure there's other vendors, that's just the one that I've looked into. We've also found corporate programs for Uber Eats, Grubhub. That's been really great for lunch and learns, as some of that stuff went virtually that you'd typically provide lunch for. It's been nice to be able to send them a voucher to get themselves lunch for still giving you that time. So that's just some of the vendors we've used that I mentioned throughout this presentation. Excuse me. So with that, here's my email address, my LinkedIn, our company's website, and also, as I mentioned, the QR code. You can download all these slides that have the screenshots, the metrics, the examples in it, so you just have that available to you. But we do have a little bit extra time. You guys started going some great examples there. I would still love to hear, now I can have my notes ready. Who you've used, what you've used, any ideas, any questions that anyone has. Yes, John.
One thing that we found that works really well, we've taken gaggles of Japanese executives to visit different people, and then we thank them with edible arrangements. And edible arrangements seems to just play perfectly everywhere, and they've got every price point. So.
Yeah, great point. Yes.
For the holidays this year, we did a virtual wine tasting. It was a company called Amber Taste.
Oh, yeah.
And because they're the cutest little wine bottles, it's enough for 2 people to do a wine tasting together. Also for experiences, we use a company called blueboard.com, and it is fantastic for employee recognition. Blueboard.
Blue board?
Yes.
I mean,
And Gold Belly for sending a favorite meal from a different city if they're traveling or whatever.
Yes.
Boxes, did you put them all together by yourself?
We did. We put those together ourselves. There was 2 of us, and we had a marketing intern, and it took less than an hour. It was really, the sourcing was the hard. We put that together ourselves, so the sourcing was probably, besides the list, the part that took the longest. The assembly was. Yeah. So that wasn't a big deal. We still have, we still use the mugs as giveaways and other things, and we're working on a new design of socks. We haven't done them yet this year because Arima's still coming, but yes, Benji. I know there is, and no, I haven't. Can you believe that? Yes, yes, giftology. Thank you, Benji, yes.
Yes. One thing that worked really well, we talked about employee gifting. So we did Yeti mugs that had the company logo engraved on, etched on, but also the employee's name on the back. And those were a monster hit. The challenge is the vendor, local vendor. I've got to find a new source, but those are probably the best employee connection. And for new employees, we look for things where somebody comes on board, we can hand somebody gifts that sort of bind them to the company, like
Yes.
you are part of us now, and having a very valuable Yeti mug, people treasure, their name, the company name, kind of get that.
Right, absolutely. And I don't know how many of you have seen this, but I've seen more, and it's probably a perfect segue to the next breakouts that we're going to be doing on onboarding. Because, I don't know, I've seen this like crazy on my LinkedIn feed now. Those companies that are bothering to do like an onboarding package, if you will, a gift. Like I'm seeing it all over my LinkedIn now where people are taking photos of that and sharing that in addition to celebrating their new position to say like, and look at this cool stuff. The company looks like they care about me. They sent me something already to show I'm connected, exactly like you're saying. So I think more, oh yeah, go ahead.
Just say it's a planner for your Yetis. You get the Yeti site in corporate.
Say Yeti corporate.
Yeti corporate.
Yeah.
I want to work directly from their site.
So Yeti's doing corporate accounts now too. Awesome.
So we send, before you start, a week in advance, you get a swag box full of all of our gear so that they can show up first day ready to go. And then we send a Harry and David, I guess we're doing a Harry and David gift box to the family, saying thank you. We can't wait for you to join. And then each employee gets $100 a year to update their swag on our company store.
Awesome. I don't know if everybody caught that, but she was saying they do a Harry and David gift box as well to the family, which I think is a really cool angle to take in addition to the $100 you do credit for logoed apparel. Examples. Yes.
I was just at the SPS conference, there's a group I want to use that, they're called Printers Inc. Printers Inc.
Printers Inc.
Printersinc.com, and they had boxes that they will put together with whatever mix or theme you want to use. And they will ship them out en masse or one at a time. So I thought they were impressive.
One more thing, and I'll shut up. We use a company called Olive and Cocoa, and instead of the cardboard box, they use wooden crates, and we're in construction, so we kind of like the wood. And they brand our logo on the side, but you can do it for new babies or Valentine's Day or holidays or anything like that. They have specialized boxes that they'll customize, and they include a personalized handwritten card for you as well.
Oh, Beth, a great point. That's one of the things I loved about Sendoso is in the CRM, you could type in a message and they had they used to have real people, I guess, who would write the handwritten card on your behalf. Now they have like a computer with a, automated thing that does it instead in the look of handwriting. But handwritten notes are so powerful, especially if you're doing a one-on-one. Like we've had clients and employees we send baby gifts to. Like including that note is really important. That's a step. Don't forget. Like that personal touch. You're doing a personal touch in the gift. At least bother with the note with it.
So we started this during the COVID summer because we weren't as in touch with our clients as we had hoped to have been. We do the holiday thing, but we wanted to do something halfway through the year. So we do a cookies for clients program, and we give all of our PMs, PXs opportunity. Do you want to order half dozen, a dozen, 2 dozen, what do you want? And those are handmade cookies by a baker, and the design is changed each year. So we've done it for 2 years. We're going into our 3rd year. Second year, my cookie baker canceled about 3 days before I needed 3,000 cookies. That was a surprise. I found a really nice friend who I literally for 4 days helped her bake and decorate cookies. So, but because we were doing 4th of July cookies, we could not miss that deadline. So, but anyway, picture on Instagram. The, cookie I got from Russian School Deliver. So that's been a really good program for us. But you have to find a really reliable.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that one sounds like it wasn't low effort for you in the end, but.
No, it wasn't, but it was totally worth it.
Yes,
So, and I've used her a lot.
Good, good. And I love the alliteration, cookies for clients, that's great.
Hi, I just wanted to quickly share a platform that we started using last year. It's called Thanks, THNKS.com. You can send anything from like a Starbucks latte, like a snack, or like a new baby gift. They curate a lot of different brands there. You just send it over email and they can like redeem it, if they want to. If they don't, I think there's also an option where you can donate it instead or something like that.
Yes.
So there's a lot of options.
Yeah, and that donation instead is a great deal for people who are uncomfortable or can't take something. Yeah.
Good question here about what metrics you can use other than that promoter scores.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends. Like if you're looking at something for retention, I mean, it's not always a one-to-one, but maybe you're trying to help with churn, help with employee churn. So, that's where you have to kind of dig into what's the problem, what's the thing we as a company care about that's connected to that problem, and then is there a point in there that's a pain point, that you can infuse a little bit of extra happiness into. And I mean, sometimes it's a physical gift, sometimes it's something else. I mean, this is maybe a little off topic from the gifting, but we've had this, like with employee churn, I got this idea actually from a Pinnacle experience. I was talking to someone who's a marketing and HR hybrid role, and she shared that they'd done retention bonuses throughout their company because of the churn they were seeing, and people were hopping ship to get a couple extra $1,000. We actually did that in our company just a couple months ago too, where every single employee got a stay kind of bonus, if you will, just to like maintain that loyalty. So again, maybe a little off topic from the gifting, and not everything's spread out. Your target audience isn't always everybody, but I think that's the challenge of thinking what the actual business problem is and thinking what the right audience is, and then and that's where that metric comes in beyond clicks and stuff to see can we affect employee churn or something like that. Okay, that's all I've got for today. Thank you all so much for your time.